Okay, let's unpack this. Get ready for a deep dive into, well, a really demanding, but I think utterly fascinating text.
Definitely demanding.
We're looking at excerpts from Fragment 3 of H.P. Blavatsky's The Voice of the Silence, focusing on the part called The Seven Portals. And we've got his glossary here to help us navigate.
Yeah, and this isn't just philosophy, is it? It's presented more like a map, a very specific, very tough spiritual path.
Right. So our mission today is to kind of cut through the metaphors, the dense language.
And see what it's actually describing. What's this journey? What virtues do you need? And what's this big choice at the end?
And it's all framed as a teacher, the upataya, instructing a disciple, a lanu.
Who's aiming for wisdom, Jñâna, and ultimately liberation, nirvana.
It feels very practical in a way, like a step-by-step guide almost.
It does, and it mentions two main routes later on. One involves deeper meditation, fourfold dhyana, described as rugged.
Okay.
But the other, which it calls even steeper, is the one through these 7 portals, using the Pâramitâs specific virtues as keys.
And that's our focus today, the 7 portals.
That's the plan.
So it's like spiritual climb, but with guarded gates you have to unlock.
Exactly. The text uses some pretty vivid imagery. You start, it says, in the mire. And you're heading towards this glorious light nirvanic. But the path, it's crossed by these ever-narrowing portals.
Narrowing. Gets tougher, I guess.
Right. And these aren't just, toll booths. They're called 7 strongholds held by cruel, crafty powers, passions incarnate.
Wow. Okay, so the gates are your own inner demons, basically.
Literally.
Personified passions.
That's the idea. The battle is internal, and you need golden keys to open these gates.
Which are the Pâramitâs, the virtues.
Yes, the text is explicit about that. The keys are these transcendental virtues. But here's something crucial. Before you even get to the first gate.
There's prep work, like read the manual first.
Yeah, more than that. Much more. The text talks about some really radical stuff. Learning to separate your consciousness from your physical body, even from your lower mind. Dwelling in the eternal, seeing yourself as like both the drop and the ocean simultaneously.
Dissolving the ego, basically.
Pretty much. It's about merging the personal into the universal. Aligning with what it calls the master soul, or alaya, the universal soul, feeling connected to everything that lives.
Okay.
And this is key, sacrificing the personal self to the impersonal self.
Is that where this antikarana thing comes in?
Yeah.
Destroying it.
Yes, exactly. Antikarana is described as the path or bridge you build between your everyday personality and your higher mind, your higher self.
Right.
The text says you have to destroy the bridge built on purely personal stuff, desires, attachments, ego concerns, cut off the lower self's influence on the higher.
That's huge. You're dismantling your whole sense of me just to qualify to start.
It's a massive internal shift, yeah. A total reorientation. And then, even before gate 1, the stern law, dharma, it says, questions you.
Questions your readiness.
Fundamentally, the big test is, hast thou attuned thy heart and mind to the great mind and heart of all mankind? Do you resonate with everyone?
Ah, this is the Veena analogy, right? The instrument.
Yes, the Veena simile. We, the disciples, are the strings. Humanity is the instrument's body, the sounding board. The world's soul is the hand playing the music.
And if a string isn't in tune?
It breaks, it fails to vibrate with the whole, it gets discarded. It's a powerful way of saying, you must be deeply connected to and feel the collective experience, especially humanity's pain. It's non-negotiable.
So empathy isn't just nice to have, it's mandatory.
According to this text, absolutely. You have to feel that universal connection, that shared suffering, before you're even allowed through the first door. It explicitly contrasts this with the self-focused path of the Brothers of the Shadow.
Okay. Prerequisites met somehow.
Right.
Have attuned yourselves. What's gate 1 like? Dana.
Right, gate 1, Dana. And here's a bit of a curveball. The description makes it sound, well, easy.
Easy after all that prep.
Yeah. The text says, the portal is high, wide, the road straight, smooth green, like a sunny meadow, nightingales singing about success. It sounds almost suspiciously nice.
Deceptive?
Perhaps. The access seems easy, but the test is still real. The key needed is dana, charity and love immortal.
Okay.
Armed with the key of charity, of love and tender mercy, thou art secure. Passing this means you've entered the stream, you're a srodapati.
Meaning you're locked in, on the path for good.
Locked in, yeah. Only 7 more births tops before nirvana, so it's the start of the final stretch, but the virtue itself, charity, love, it's fundamental, not necessarily complex yet.
Got it. Charity opens the easy gate.
Well,
what about gate 2? Shila.
Now the mood shifts dramatically. The path is still green, but suddenly it's steep. It winds uphill to a rocky summit. Gray mists appear. It gets dark ahead.
Oh.
That hopeful bird song, it fades. Doubt starts to creep in. Your steps become unsteady.
And the main challenge here is?
Fear. The text warns directly. Fear kills the will and stays all action.
Right.
And if you lack the virtue of Shila, it says it's like walking on sharp karmic pebbles that bruise your feet.
Karmic pebbles, like little consequences catching up.
Yeah, past actions, lack of inner balance coming back to bite you. And the key, Shila, is harmony in word and act.
Harmony.
This key, it says, counterbalances the cause and the effect and leaves no further room for karmic action. It suggests true inner and outer harmony dissolves negative karma. You need stability, sure-footedness.
Makes sense. Moving on to gate 3, Kshanti. Sounds like patience under pressure.
Exactly. The portal of fortitude and patience. Here, the text warns, Mara's arrows start flying.
Mara, the tempter figure. Illusion.
Right. Those arrows hit anyone who hasn't achieved viraga yet. That's non-attachment, detachment. You're warned specifically not to tremble.
Because fear makes the key rusty.
That's the metaphor, yeah. A rusty key won't work. And the path gets even more dangerous here, more pitfalls. There's only one light source now. Daring. Your own courage, the more you dare, the brighter the light. Fear dims it, casting a lethal shade that just roots you to the spot in terror.
And isn't this where the text mentions the last great fight?
Yes. The final war between the higher and the lower self. It happens right here, at this gate.
The battleground is your own lower nature.
And it has to be completely overcome, engulfed.
Wow. What kind of patience? What is Kshanti exactly to withstand that?
The key is patience sweet. That knot can ruffle.
Yeah.
You have to, soak your soul in its essence. Pass this gate, and the text says, thy body is thy slave.
Meaning complete mastery over physical impulses.
That seems to be the idea. Not subjugation, but mastery.
Okay, body mastered. Gate 4, Virag. This one felt central. Really complex.
It often is. This is the portal where temptations attack the inner person. The mind itself.
Not just external stuff anymore.
Right. You need to have mastered all your mental ups and downs and completely slain the army of thought sensations.
Thought sensations. What are those exactly? Like daydreams or cravings?
Kind of. The text calls them unseen, impalpable creations, children of your thoughts, heirs to earthly spoils. Basically, all those fleeting mental images, desires, fears, regrets connected to the material world that constantly bubble up.
The mental chatter.
Exactly. You have to annihilate that army. And you have to study the voidness of the seeming full, the fullness of the seeming void.
Seeing through illusion.
Yes. Realizing worldly things, the seeming full, are ultimately empty, and spiritual reality, the seeming void, is actually full. Knowing your true self's power, not just reacting to shadows.
Okay.
The text warns that the lightest breeze of passion or desire, the smallest wave of longing or regret for anything related to Maya illusion, especially if it travels along that antakarana highway.
That internal path again.
Which stirs up your sense of separate self, akankara. Even the tiniest bit forfeits everything you've gained.
Because the eternal doesn't change.
Correct. And Maya is constant change, illusion. You have to let go of the 8 dire miseries, things like gain and loss, fame and shame, pleasure and pain.
So virag is indifference.
Indifference to pleasure and pain, yes. Illusion conquered, truth alone perceived. It's a stern and exacting virtue. You need to saturate yourself with pure alaya, become one with nature's soul thought.
Become invincible, like nature.
In a sense, man is a ray of alaya, light inside, clay outside. That inner light is your guide, your true self. But it's a victim if the lower self rules. You have to master both.
And this is near the gate of balance.
Yes, the middle portal, also called the gate of woe, filled with 10,000 snares. Mara's hosts, tempters, negative elementals called Lamayan, they're all active here.
Sounds like the toughest one yet. How does viraj get you through?
Viraj is the key. That radical non-attachment, the ability to see clearly, to discriminate the real from the unreal. It demands total control over thought and where your soul focuses its attention. Your gaze has to be locked on the one pure light. No distractions.
Okay, so somehow you make it through viraj. What awaits at gate 5, Virya?
Well, the text offers a bit of hope here. It says, the dreary task is well nigh over.
Oh, good.
You've crossed the abyss, conquered the passions, beaten Mara, purified yourself. Big victories, but...
There's always a but, isn't there?
Seems so. The task is not done. Now the challenge changes focus.
How so?
Immediately, you have to build a wall around your holy isle, your higher ego, your true thinking self.
A wall. To keep what out?
Pride, satisfaction, the feeling of, wow, look what I achieved. That sense of accomplishment, ironically, can destroy the whole work.
The subtle trap of success itself.
Exactly. The wall needs to be strong enough to keep out the waves of world Maya, illusion, which are still crashing around you.
So virya is the key here. What is it?
Virya is dauntless energy, unflagging, courageous effort that keeps fighting its way towards truth, pushing through the mire of lies terrestrial.
Persistent spiritual stamina.
That's a good way to put it. The text uses another analogy. The isle is a deer, and your thoughts are hounds chasing it.
Even now, what kind of thoughts?
Maybe more subtle ones now.
Yeah.
Dwelling on past winds, perhaps. They pursue the deer towards the stream of life, the path of pure knowledge, Jnana. If the hounds catch the deer before it reaches safety, well, woe betide.
So virya keeps the thought hounds back and builds the wall against pride.
Yes. And to really settle into that state of pure knowledge, Jnana, your soul needs a specific quality, like a ripe mango fruit.
A mango.
Soft and sweet towards the suffering of others, but hard as the stone inside when it comes to your own pains, your own temptations, your own self.
Wow. Hard on yourself. Compassionate to others.
You have to make your soul hard against the snares of self. That's how you earn the name Diamond Soul.
Diamond soul. Unbreakable. Pure.
Like a diamond buried deep, reflecting no earthly lights. Your mind, your soul, in that state must mirror nothing from the realm of illusion, Maya. Achieve that, and even nature's strongest forces can't touch you.
Okay, but then it says there's a task still harder. Seriously.
Yep. Even as a diamond soul, you have to feel yourself as all thought, totally connected to the universal mind, yet at the same time, exile all personal earthly thoughts from your soul.
How is that even possible? Be everything and nothing personal.
It sounds paradoxical. It's about achieving a state of mental fixity, utterly untouched by earthly concerns. Your purified mind, the shrine, must be empty of action, sound, earthly light, like a perfectly still lamp flame in a windless spot.
The Bhagavad Gita image.
Right. If that flame is exposed to the winds of thought, it flickers, casts shadows, creates illusions. You could become like a mad elephant fighting shadows if you lose control here.
So the risk is losing your connection to higher knowledge by worrying about yourself.
Or forgetting your true self, getting caught in change, which it calls a great foe, and falling back into doubt.
Sounds incredibly precarious. What if you stumble here after coming so far?
This is where the text is actually quite encouraging. It says, if you try and fail, do not lose courage. Fight on, come back again.
Like a warrior.
Exactly. A fearless warrior, bleeding but still fighting. Chase the foes, ambition, anger, hatred, desires, shadow out of your soul's fortress, even if you fail sometimes.
So failure isn't final.
It explicitly says each failure is success, and each sincere attempt wins its reward in time. The effort itself builds strength. Those holy germs of spirit grow stronger with trials. They bend, but don't break. They'll blossom eventually.
That's actually quite hopeful.
It is. If you came prepared with Mirya, with that dauntless energy, then there's no fear. The way through this gate is clear.
Okay, that brings us finally to gate 6, Jnâna, the Bodhi portal.
Yes. You're now heading towards the haven of Jñâna, deep contemplation or meditation. You've already achieved titiksha.
Remind me.
Supreme indifference to all pleasure and pain, not just your own, but universally.
Got it.
The state itself, this Jnâna gate, is likened to an alabaster vase, white, transparent.
Okay.
Inside, a steady golden flame burns. That's the flame of prajna wisdom radiating from your deepest self, Atman. And the aspirant, you are that vase.
You become the vessel holding the pure light.
Beautifully put. You're detached from the senses now. You've walked the inner path of seeing and path of hearing. You stand fully in the light of knowledge. A Sawani, someone practicing this, is safe here.
Safe. That sounds good after all the battles. Which leads to the 7th, the final gate, prajna.
The gate of final knowledge. Absolute wisdom. Crossing this means you could become a Tathagata like the Buddhas, gone beyond suffering.
And the key is prajna itself. Wisdom.
Yes. The key that makes man a god, creating a bodhisattva, a son of the Dhyanis, those cosmic beings of wisdom. Once this path is crossed, the text says, nature itself thrills.
Thrilled.
In awe, because a master has arisen, a master of the day.
A master of the day. What does that signify?
Someone who has achieved a level of spiritual attainment and influence that affects a whole cosmic cycle, a manvantara.
Yeah.
Huge time scale. Their mind is like a vast, calm ocean. They hold power over life and death. They can elevate illusion itself.
Incredible power. The text asks, surely they'll take their reward now, right?
Rest. It poses that question. You've done it all. Won the ultimate prize, earned the right to nirvana, personal liberation, and bliss.
And this is where the choice comes in, the really big one.
The ultimate pivot. You've reached the absolute summit of personal achievement. Your self-clinging roots, Kleja, are gone. The thirst for existence, Tana, that causes rebirth. Destroyed. And then compassion speaks.
Compassion, not just a feeling, but like a cosmic law.
Exactly. The text calls it the law of laws, eternal harmony, Elea's self, the fundamental reality. And this law asks the question.
Can there be bliss when all that lives must suffer? Shalt thou be saved and hear the whole world cry?
That question just flips everything, doesn't it? Suddenly success isn't about your state anymore.
It's about your connection to everyone else's suffering.
Right. The text contrasts the Arhat, the Nirvani, who does step into nirvana and gets that sweet fruition,
Takes the reward.
with the Bodhisattva, who has also reached that same Arhat state, earned the same right to nirvana, but refuses it.
Refuses nirvana. Why? How? Does this relate to those different bodies, the kayas?
It does. There's the Dharmakaya, the body of a complete Buddha, pure universal consciousness, beyond any connection to earth, utterly merged.
Okay.
The Sambhogakaya, a more luminous, glorious, ethereal form, still detached from earthly concerns.
Right.
And then the Nirmanakaya, also an ethereal form, but one that retains its adept's knowledge and connection, allowing it to remain present, though usually invisible, to help the world.
So the Bodhisattva chooses the Nirmanakaya.
Precisely. Having earned the right to the Dharmakaya bliss, or even the Sambhogakaya's glory, they renounce it. They choose not to don that ultimate robe of liberation because it would sever their ability to help humanity.
So instead of final peace,
They choose continued engagement out of compassion. They stay in the Nirmanakaya state, unseen, watching over, protecting, guiding mankind towards the good law. This is the Buddha of compassion.
wow. The text had that analogy about the stream of knowledge.
Yeah, a powerful one. All that hard-won Deva wisdom, divine insight, wrested from Malaya. You can't just let it pool up for yourself, become a stagnant pond.
You have to pour it out.
You must pour it into another bed.
Mhm.
Use it to sweeten the ocean's bitter waves, the great sea of sorrow formed of the tears of men.
Like a star shining for others, not itself. Or the snow protecting seeds while taking the frost.
Perfect analogies from the text. These bodhisattvas are self-doomed to live through future kalpas, maybe eons, unthanked and unperceived by man.
And they form the guardian wall.
Yes, a protective barrier around humanity built by the efforts, the suffering, the sacrifices of countless masters of compassion, protecting us from worse things. But, the text notes grimly, humanity often doesn't see the wall, doesn't want to see it, doesn't listen to the wisdom,
But the pilgrim, the aspirant who has reached this point,
is now enlightened. Choose thy way. The text presents this path of selfless compassion, the Arya path, the path of the Buddhas of perfection, as the ultimate choice, even though it means wedding woe and remaining until the very end of cycles.
that is an incredible arc. From mire to mastery, only to choose service over personal escape.
It completely reframes what enlightenment or spiritual success might mean. It's not just about your liberation, it's about your relationship to all suffering.
So this ancient text lays out this incredibly tough path of inner purification, and then says the highest peak isn't personal bliss, but turning back, in a way, to help everyone else, even if they never know you're doing it.
And it puts compassion not just as a feeling, but as the law of laws, right at the heart of everything.
So as you listen, think about that. What does it mean to become a master of the day, to gain that ultimate knowledge, only for that knowledge itself to demand it be used not for your own peace, but to help sweeten that vast sea of sorrow?
Yeah, and reflect on that idea of the guardian wall. Built by beings who sacrifice their own final rest, working unseen for ages, often unthanked, for a world that might not even realize they exist or heed their guidance. What does that level of compassion truly entail?
Definitely a lot to contemplate there.